Now, family, this is our supernatural best in 7 minutes or less, and today's topic is simply going to be the supernatural supermarket. The supernatural supermarket. Now, many of you may be familiar with that term supermarket. It was coined in 1916 to describe a place where people could go and get all of their household goods, not just the things that they needed to eat, but all types of stuff. I've got some supermarket items in my hand right now. If you wanted some oatmeal, you could get that from the supermarket. If you wanted some black beans, you could get that too. Then if you like that kind of stuff like this Frosted Flakes cereal in my hand, all comes from the supermarket. But wait, they also had a produce section. These oranges are supermarket items. Well, in this Christian life, there is another kind of supermarket, the place where we can go to get all the good things that God has prepared for us. Watch this. Judge Correlia in 2 Peter chapter 2, no, 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 4, the Bible tells us that we've been given exceeding great and precious promises. Then we discover in Hebrews 10:36 that we just need a little bit of patience doing that after we've done the will of God, we might receive the promise. And then don't forget what the Bible tells us, PBO, in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 9 and 10. It's there, Drea, that we discover that natural eyes haven't seen and ears haven't heard the things which God has prepared for those that love him, but he's revealed them to us by his Spirit. So watch this. I want us to learn how to thrive in the supernatural supermarket, the place where we get all things that God has set aside for us. First of all, we've got to remember we only have one source. You see, around 1960, the research studies show that about 80% of all items that were sold for households were purchased in the nation's grocery stores by these supermarkets. In other words, almost 8 out of 10 times when a person needed something, they went to this supermarket. Now, in this Christian life, we only have one source. Remember, the Bible tells us in James chapter 1, verse 17, we discover this, BJ. It says that every good gift and every perfect gift comes down from God. Don't forget that we've got one source. You remember what Jesus said to us in John chapter 15, verse 4 and 5, when he says, without me, you can't do anything. We've got one source. If we recognize that we've only got one source, then we can also recognize that the experience is enhanced when his promises are leveraged. Let me say that one more time for my note takers. They can write this down. The experience is enhanced when when the promises are leveraged. Doc Boom, I want you to remember this one. Doc Ellis, remember this as well. See, in my hand, I've got some coupons. Y'all remember I showed you these last week. I've got some coupons in my hand now. And if you want to have a good time at the supermarket, I can't personally say that I've ever done it, but I can say that the people who do it will tell you that if you want to have a good time at the supermarket, be armed with your coupons, because then you're going to get the fullest level of the experience. Then regular items in the grocery store won't cost you the same as they do without it. These regular things will be discounted drastically, because if you learn how to leverage a coupon, you can maximize your shopping experience. Hold on. Similarly, if we learn how to leverage the promises of God, we can maximize this supernatural experience. We can see miracles happening and lives change, like Sonia Franklin Johnson mentioned in the beginning. You see, the Bible tells us in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 12, that we've received the Spirit of God so that we can know all the things that are freely given to us by God. Do you realize, family, that if you got access to this paper, they put these sales in it, and these are things that you don't have to hustle for. You don't have to work hard for it. All you've got to recognize is they're willing to give this to you if we're willing to redeem it. Similarly, the Bible lets us know that we're willing to get these things if we're willing to redeem them. Come here. The Bible even tells us in Romans chapter 8, verse 32, that God, who didn't spare his own son, is able to freely give us all things. Come here, Ephesians chapter 3, verse 20. Coach, you remember the Bible says he'll do exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or even imagine. Yes, family, it's going to enhance our experience on this earth when we leverage the promises of God. Last but certainly not least, faith in the promises modifies our goals. Remember last week's lesson on expectation? Faith in the promises modifies our goals. Hold on. Let me pick this back up one more time. See, they say on this sales paper that I can buy one, get one free. Now, I'm not that interested in fresh pork loin chops, cousin, but because they saying they'll buy one and get one free, maybe I'll take them up on it. Then I can see I can get 2 cantaloupes and they'll even give me 2 more for free. So now what happens is my goals become modified. I may not have planned to go and get this, but because it's here and the coupons are available, guess what? I'm on my way. By the same token, family, there are things in here that you might not have even recognized. Health and wealth and riches and honor and glory and blessing. There are things in here that you find in Revelation chapter 5, verse 12, in Psalm 5, verse 12, in John 15 and 7 that says if we live in him and his word lives in us, we can ask what we want and it shall be done for us. Yes, family, it modifies my desire once I understand the promises that are contained therein. Therefore, just like there's a supermarket and that experience can be enhanced, there's also one in the supernatural where our life experience can be drastically multiplied just by leveraging what God has already set aside for us. So, family, remember that supernatural supermarket the next time you go into prayer and realize the promises have already been set aside.